Right, so Jacob Rees-Mogg, aside from just having had his backside handed to him by Marina Purkiss on his own show just last night, he's been busy being dastardly behind the scenes as well, conspiring with Lord David Frost, he who considered himself a Brexit hardman when he was negotiating with the EU, but like all Tories involved with that mess, just proved himself to be a clueless political pygmy instead. Well, he and the Haunted Pencil have now had a meeting of minds. There's a brain cell under strain, having published a joint article in the Torygraph, of course, urging Britain to return to its roots of National Conservatism. That sounds horrible, Damo, you might think, and coming from these two, that should be the obvious conclusion. But what the hell are they on about? It's a prelude to an event that's called NatCon, which describes the belief of a nation-state and the principle of national independence. I can hear the roars of laughter emanating from Scotland all the way down here in Cornwall as I speak. The thing is, though, no matter what they call it, National Conservatism or NatCon, it's impossible to overlook the far more obvious acronym of Nat C, or of referring to this resurrected, for it's actually nothing new, ideology as Nat C-ism. How unfortunate for these hard right-wingers, eh? Do we refer to them as Nat Cs now? Or can we? Should we? Can we? The NatCon UK event, anyway, is scheduled to take place in London from May the 15th to 17th, and those involved read like a who's who of batshit hard right thinking. Rees-Mogg and Frosty are both keynote speakers, but also in attendance will be deportation dreamer Suella Braverman, Michael Gove, Fox News regular Andy Ngo, Eugenics fan Toby Young will be there, and crafty young Darren Grimes from GB News as well. What a lineup for Nat C Fest 2023. Well, what is it, though, this National Conservatism? You know we're onto a wrong and just listening to the title, but when the headline statements are referring to things like national independence and the belief in a one-nation state, it all sounds like Brexit all over again. Did we not do that already? Badly, very badly, but still, we're done, no? Well, with their Torygraph piece entitled, "Decline is not inevitable, National Conservatism could set us on a path to post-Brexit prosperity," it seems as though Mogg and his psychic Frost still think there is legs in pushing this view of sunny uplands that so far none of us are seeing and isn't appearing on the horizon. Instead, what we're seeing is a cost of living crisis, supply issues, businesses going under, high inflation, incomes are low, and, well, I'd like to think most of us by now accept that however we voted on Brexit, the Tories have ballsed it up completely. Anyway, the statements from Nat C in the park, NatCon UK, because nothing shouts free speech like laying down a load of rules at the start, does it? Well, these principles they want to affirm come straight from the Edmund Burke Foundation, named after the 18th century conservative philosopher who is attributed as being the father of national conservatism. I did say it wasn't anything new, didn't I? In fact, in the US, Republicans love this guy so much they consider him the father of conservatism itself. But this foundation is nowhere near as old, starting in 2000 in Holland by a group of young conservatives out there. So 10 principles. I'll just skirt over them quickly because, frankly, I don't really want to go into detail on them. These are national independence, wishing to see a world of independent nations, which kind of ignores why alliances were ever made, avoidance of future world wars and the like. It's Brexiteerism. You can see why it appeals to Mogg. Then there's a rejection of imperialism and globalism, which makes me laugh no end when so many Tories are capped offers to unelected heads of state. So many of them act as if the British Empire is still a thing. It also undermines the only other pledge I've mentioned thus far, with that sense of going it alone, but making mention of forming alliances. So do make your own minds up what you think they mean by that. Then there's national government. So again, swinging back to going it alone, but also implying they believe in a strong but limited state. In other words, one that wants power but doesn't want it in your best interests. Wants power but doesn't actually want to do anything running the country in your interests for you. Limited state means less about giving a damn about you or I or the services we all need and depend on to live in a civilized, decent society. Shrink the state mantra, isn't it? Then they bring God and religion into it in their fourth pledge, which I'm not going to waste a moment discussing. We all know what kind of Christian values Mogg has when he votes the way he does. Next is rule of law. You can imagine how this bunch would like to see that enforced. Then there's free enterprise, which is free marketeering, Thatcherism, and all of that amidst claims of ensuring the economy works for the general welfare of the nation. It all has that very anti-woke feel to it. But then I'm sure the Tories claim to be very empathetic and caring to us all now, despite the DWP having been driving people to their deaths over the last 13 years of Tory rule, and Boris Johnson saying, let the bodies pile up in their thousands during the pandemic. Oh, very empathetic, I'm sure you all agree. There's public research is another pledge of theirs, urging new development and exploring new ways in defence and security, but also saying universities are anti-conservative and that's got to end. So where has that free speech gone again then, Jacob? Families and children, the Tories couldn't give a damn, having stripped families of support beyond their second child in an act of cruelty, frankly. You can argue people shouldn't have more kids than they can afford, and right-wingers do, but right now, in the times we're living in, that'd amount to none for many people, and for those affected, you're functionally taking it out on the child by denying the parents the means to meet their needs. Why punish the kid has always been my thought. Of course, this lot vision of that is one of marriage and children born out of wedlock. It's all gone very 18th century, just like Mogg very much is. Then there's last two pledges are down to immigration and race, and well, I'll just park things there with no more said. I don't think it needs saying. By all means, read it for yourself. They've got their own website and everything. Fundamentally, this is Brexit 2.0, moving things even further to the right, and that Nat C connotation they've hilariously fallen afoul of actually takes a darker, more sinister feeling when it comes across as more than just a play on words, doesn't it? People are joking about the need to promote the idea of this national conservatism idea of theirs with the use of armbands, perhaps, and lapel badges, and maybe even a youth movement. But the seriousness of the matter is, this is an ideology we've already seen in action because it's the same politics of the likes of Viktor Orban or of Marine Le Pen. It's an urgency that right-wing parties veer even further right. So often we see the Nazis, the actual ones, historical ones, brought up in discussion and the accusation made that they were socialists because they referred to themselves as National Socialists. But that was another misnomer to trick people into thinking they were something they weren't. National Conservatism is going to be so much more nailed on if they keep heading ideologically towards that same point. The country has been driven too far to the right as it is, shrinking the state, the rich getting richer, all of our services in decline, and they want to sell us a vision of even more of that as the answer. Sure it is for them. It's never going to be the answer for us. Thanks for watching. If you appreciated this video, please do hit like and subscribe. Leave a comment and hit the notification bell too so you don't miss the next one. Also look out for me on social media and other interesting stuff by clicking on the Linktree link in the comments below. And I will see you next time. Cheers, folks.